Let's talk a little bit about PowerPoint layouts. And a layout is essentially pre-configured placeholders. It also has formatting, positioning, and behaviors for slides. A placeholder is a pre-configured content container. So I'm going to jump out and show you what those are, and then we'll play around with some various stuff and show you some things that you might not know about them. Layouts actually reside in the very spooky part of PowerPoint called the slide master. And so we're going to touch on that a little bit. And then I'll also give you, like I say, a couple of tips and tricks for that. So I'm going to go over to just a blank presentation. And I'm going to right click here and add a new slide. What you notice is that slides have certain formats and stuff by default. So we've all kind of seen this before. On the Home tab, if you go look at Layouts here, we see the very familiar, incredibly lame and boring layouts that come with the Office themes, or pretty much any PowerPoint slide deck that you use, right? So we're all kind of used to working with these, I think, to a degree, but there's a lot of different things that we can do if you know how. And there's a lot of really interesting things that the people who develop a lot of these advanced slide templates come up with. And for the most part, if they're smart, what they do is they include them as a layout. And I'll show you the reasons why that's kind of the case. So, a couple ways to get to layouts on the Home tab. You can look at layouts here, or you can right click on any slide, go to layout, and it will actually show you which one you have enabled for this particular slide. And then of course, like I mentioned, these are pre-configured slides formats. So if I choose a different one, what the layout does is it applies whatever formatting and positioning and behaviors on that layout to the slide that you want to apply it to, right? So I think everybody kind of gets that. The way you get to and work with layouts is, like I mentioned, on the very scary thing called the slide master. The way you can get to that is you can go to View and then over to Slide Master. Okay, and click this. And here what happens is we have what's called a slide master at the top, and then underneath you'll notice kind of a hierarchy of stuff. These are called layout masters. So if we just kind of equate what we saw before to what we see under the covers and behind the scenes with the slide master view, then we see all of those various styles, layouts, formatting, and things like that. Of course, now the nice thing about using the slide master is that you can make changes in one spot for things like text or whatever you want, and it will automatically apply them to all of the assets that are included in the other layouts, right? So I'm not going to get into that all that much. Let's take a look at some of the probably more interesting things that the advanced templates sort of give us. So let's go over to, I don't know, let's go to a different slide deck for a second. And here I just have some samples of some of the nice templates, slides that we get from folks like VidInstant and LaVideo and all of those kinds of things. Here, if I go and right click and add a new slide, I'm going to have a lot more layout options than just the regular ones. Okay, so here's the regular ones, and the way these templates work is, well, these guys have created ways for us to easily manipulate the content on a slide. So let's jump over to our blank slide again, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert a new layout. I'm going to get rid of all of this default crap by highlighting it and hitting delete. And kind of the secret to layouts that make them so interesting and useful is this ability to, once we're in Slide Master view, you can go to the Slide Master tab by default, and you can insert these things called placeholders, right? So there are different kinds of placeholders. There's a content placeholder, and basically you just drag it out. Okay, this is one of the lame and boring ones, so I don't care too much about that. You can insert text placeholders. Let's start with a picture placeholder and just kind of see what happens here. So I'm just going to drag this out, and then I'm literally just going to close the master view. So I'll go to Slide Master and close this view. So what that buys me is, let's look at our kind of added slide here. And now if I go to Layouts, you'll notice that I have this thing called a custom layout. So I'm going to click that. And the nice part about this is we were talking about the size of pictures. And if I want to replace this and I don't want to muck up any of the other formatting on the slide, as to, what size does this need to be or anything like that. If it is a placeholder object that we created in the Slide Master, I'm just going to click this icon here and I'm going to pick me a picture and insert it. And boom, it all just kind of happens to come into the right sizing and all of that good kind of stuff. Let's go to the selection pane for a moment, and we'll see that on this slide it is a picture placeholder. So when you're modifying templates and you see something called a picture placeholder, now you know what it is. It is a pre-configured container, right? This one happens to be for a picture. Its size is determined, and its position on the slide was also predetermined. You can move it if you want once you've added it. So that's how you know it's a picture placeholder. And the way most of these templates work is that they will have a picture here already for you to modify it. You'll just hit delete. And when you delete a picture placeholder, then you can have the opportunity to go ahead and add a different picture. Notice it doesn't delete the placeholder container. It just deletes the image that once was within that container and lets us replace it. Right? And again, all the sizing and formatting and all that good stuff is all right there. Right? So that's kind of the basic gist of it. So again, the way to work with some of these things and to understand what's going on under the covers, we'll go into the Slide Master. Here's a little shortcut that's kind of nice. You can go to View and Slide Master, like I mentioned, but also, if you want a little shortcut deal, way down at the bottom here are the different views for a slide deck. If you hold your Shift key and click this guy, it's automatically going to take you to the Slide Master, right? So it's a way you can bounce back and forth pretty quickly to be able to get to some different stuff. So let's take a look at this guy. It's a picture placeholder. One of the things in a lot of these templates you'll notice is that there are some kind of interesting placeholders. Let's go back to our samples here and let's look at, say this one. Here's an image, but it's a circle. If I hit delete, well, that's a picture placeholder, but it's a circle. And I can, go ahead and replace it. Another thing you'll want to know is that it automatically resizes the images into whatever the placeholder is, but you can always go to crop, and I usually crop to fill, and you can make adjustments then if you want. Alright, so that's just something that's kind of common practice also. If we look at the Slide Master on this guy, the Layout Master, you'll notice that it's a circle. Okay, so how might we do such a thing when the only picture placeholder that we can create is basically a square? Once you add this placeholder, what you can do is go to Shape Format and Edit Shape, Change Shape. So let's change this to, like a oval. So now it's basically an oval or a circle instead of a square. Now, the kind of weird thing is that you notice that you don't always get to see what it looks like. When you click on it, then you can do things like change, for example, the properties of the shape itself. But to actually see what it ends up looking like, you have to click off of it. Right? So now if I exit master view, what it did was it went ahead and applied that formatting. Let's go back to the slide master and let's add us another one. Insert a layout. Get rid of all of that stuff and insert another picture placeholder. Under shape format, another kind of screwy thing is you would think that you could just edit the points here and kind of customize your shape, but you actually have to kind of reapply. I'm just going to call it a rectangle. And now if I go to edit shape, I can edit the points. And at this point, of course, with edit points, we can make all kinds of really interesting custom shapes for our pictures. Okay, and that's one way that you'll see a lot of these templates have done some pretty creative things to be able to mess with things like that and create custom shapes. Let's add us another one while we're playing around. Show you just a couple more things real quick. Let's insert a placeholder, a picture, and for this one I'm going to make it kind of big. Okay, and it's just a rectangle. The other things that you can do on a master here are not just add placeholders, but literally any kind of stuff I put on this slide will end up to be part of this template. And any of the things that I can do on a regular slide will also pretty much work here. So let's insert just a shape. I'll insert a rectangle. And I'll kind of do something like this. Okay, let's click on the picture. Let's hold the Shift key, click on the shape, and then go to Merge Shapes and Subtract. Okay, and if I click off again now, I have this kind of cut out picture placeholder. And one of the other kinds of placeholders I could put in would be something like text. So let's draw out some text, a text area here, and put in some formatting. Let's take the bullets off of this guy. So this would be my big title. Okay, and I can make it whatever fonts or things like that I want. Just kind of position it, go to Slide Master, close the master view. Let's add us a new slide, and let's use that layout. Okay, see, now I have an area laid out for text, and it'll wrap and all that good stuff. It'll have all the properties that I put on the slide master and this kind of cool cutout. And one of the things you can do, of course, is click the icon here, but another thing that I kind of like about layouts and these objects is, let's just go find an image. Let's grab this one, and you can just drag and drop. Kind of a bad example there, but let's pick a different one. So if I don't like that one, let's delete it, and let's drag something else, maybe a little more suitable for the slide. But the bottom line is that all of the stuff that you can do with merge shapes and all that good kind of deal holds true for whatever kind of layout you work with. Let's close the master view here. Let's say I'm working with a bunch of templates, and I really like this slide design, and I kind of want to steal it. So what we can do is we can right click, of course, and copy it And I'm working on my custom deck here. Let's right click and paste keep source formatting. And now, of course, I can delete this and add me another picture and whatnot. But if we go look at the layouts that are available, when you copy and paste a slide from a deck that has a bunch of different layouts, notice that, well, I got all of them. So it brings all of those layouts for that slide deck into whatever slide deck that you're working on. So that can be kind of a handy thing. If you delete this slide and go to layouts, notice that all of those layouts went away because the slide that had those layouts and the properties from the deck that I copied it from are no longer there. So that's something to kind of be aware of. I like to find layouts that I like, and let's try this. Let's go into Slide Master here. Hold the Shift key and click this guy. And let's say that, I really like this one, this particular one. You notice this is a picture and they've added some drop shadow and stuff like that. I can right click on the Layout Master and copy. Let's go back to our slide deck. And remember, we deleted that layout before because we deleted the slide. But you can actually paste, again, keeping the source formatting, different layouts. Right? Now, when you do that, it's also going to grab the slide master from that deck. And if I don't want a whole bunch of slide masters, I'm just going to kind of drag this up and then delete this guy. So this way you can kind of create, your own swipe files using just the layouts that you really kind of like, right? So that's kind of fun and interesting. Let's go back to this other sample deck for a moment. Close the master view. Not only can layouts have the positioning and stuff of that of the container, but if we go to the Animations tab, a lot of times what you'll see, if you're looking around on your animations here, and this is a busy slide, it's got a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of times you will see an animation that starts with the word layout, right? So what that means is that, let's look at the master again. You can apply animations to layouts as well. So the thing to be aware of here is that if you add an animation to a slide layout, it is baked in. So let's close the master view. Here we are in a regular slide. I have an animation here called Layout Body, and there's nothing you can do with it. You can't really do anything. You can't change it, you can't delete it, you can't do anything. So that's just something to be aware of, is that if the animation is baked into the layout, it's pretty much there forever. That actually kind of trips people up sometimes. You can only do like a couple of things here. You can copy effects, you can view the layout, right, and then make changes here if you want. So say for example I didn't want this baked in. I don't want this animation, I just want this picture placeholder with the nice formatting around the edge. Well, once I'm in layout mode, then I can delete that, close the master view, and now it has no animation. All right. Let's look at one more thing here real quick. I'm going to go to New. Some layouts can get really pretty hairy. If you go to Create a New Presentation and hit the Presentations icon here, notice this guy right here. And all of these with these really interesting different images and shapes and stuff like that, these all use slide layouts. Okay. This one I kind of particularly like, and I'll just use this as kind of a demonstration for how kind of interesting some of these can get. Let's go into a slide master view. And what you'll see again is that anything you can do with a shape and the merging of shapes and stuff, you can do in the slide master view. And I'm not going to get into the details of how this is created. I think I have a tutorial on how to create some silhouette effects, but that's what they did here. And I just kind of like it. Let's try this. Let's just copy this particular object. Let's go to our presentation. Let's create a new layout. Delete that stuff and let's paste. And let's make it big. Let's see what that does. Close the master view and set the layout to this guy. And let's add us some imagery. Nice, right? Yeah, some of these can get pretty interesting. So what I did here was I swiped it and just decided to kind of use it. All right, that's all I got for tonight, folks. See you next time. Thanks for coming.